here with former WWE Superstar Duke the Dumpster, Droese, who is making an on-camera appearance for the first time probably since the 2000 or WrestleMania 17 gimmick battle royal. He will take some fan questions here, but one of the email questions I had from a fan was any memories of working in Bobby Wales at Carver Theater in Miami?
Bobby Wales is the guy that trained me, the Jamaican Jammer Bobby Wales, and at a certain time he was running shows in this little venue in the middle of Carroll City, Florida, down in Miami, the Carver Theater. I only worked there once or twice, but he actually used to bring in guys like Kevin Sullivan to work there and stuff. But yeah, Bobby's the guy that broke me into the business, and all those people that worked with Bobby and the different local promoters down there, those are the guys I came up with and learned how to wrestle with. So I owe my wrestling career and my wrestling ability to Bobby Wales. He trained me.
And what are your memories of being the Warren County High School strength and conditioning coach?
I love doing that. I love working out. I loved helping other people learn how to train and take care of their bodies. All the way back to when I was in the World Wrestling Federation, I used to train with Bob Holly at the gym. We would train like 2.5 hours a day, man. He was insane. But the things I learned from him and Barbarian and other people like them in the weight room, those are the ideals that I brought when I was a strength and conditioning coach in Warren County. But yeah, I used to love that job. I used to love training guys.
Did you ever feel stereotyped by WWE when you were the Dumpster?
I think in their eyes it was very limited, and because of that, it was an afterthought. I, as a wrestler and as a character, was an afterthought a lot of the time in their eyes. They didn't have much for me. As I said before, they always would say things like, "We're just trying to figure out what to do with you." That always aggravated me, but I did feel limited, absolutely.
What was your favorite WWE match?
Well, wrestling Triple H was awesome. You know, that was a pay-per-view match. And he was always easy to work with. But WrestleMania 17, even though it was just that gimmick battle royal, and that friggin' Astrodome was 60-some thousand people, that was crazy. Never been in front of that many people before or since, and that was great. But then one other guy I used to really love was Harry Godwin. I actually only wrestled him once or twice, but he was always fun to wrestle.
Someone from Ireland says hi to you, and another guy, you've already told a bunch of road stories in this shoot interview, but they're asking what's your best WWE road stories. Is there any that you're missing that you didn't tell here?
I'm sure there is. I just can't think of them, but let me think. What did I not tell?
Well, while you're thinking about it, memories of being on the King's Court.
That had the potential to be a great feud, and it could have gone at least to a pay-per-view, but I just think that the state of the company at that time, the original PG era, or as I call it, the rated G era, they were so worried about sponsors and doing anything too violent that it just got squashed when we did that whole can deal. That just killed it. I can't think of any other road stories.
Anything involving Nash?
Which one with Nash? I know one time we, Kevin Nash, we were in, God, where were we? It was somewhere overseas. And the boys were just, collectively, all the wrestlers were just kind of cracking. We were losing it because of the road schedules. They were so rough. And the unofficial word had come down that on this trip it was going to be okay to smoke some weed. They called it spring break. They broke away from there was not going to be, they couldn't say this officially, but there was not going to be any drug tests on this tour, and there wasn't. And I just remember sitting in a room with the Click, and I strangely ended up in a room with the Click smoking weed. And Kevin Nash said the strangest thing. He was like, and nobody better fucking tell that we're doing this or something. He was saying something to that effect. And I just remember, and other people were looking at me. And I was like, who are you talking to? And I was just wondering why the hell he was saying that. But I don't know, maybe he was he felt the need to make sure that I wasn't going to say something. I don't know.
Any memories of the 1996 Royal Rumble? You talked about the 95 Rumble incident already.
96, I'm sure Shawn won that too. He probably won 95 and 96, right? Yeah. I remember grabbing Shawn immediately. I always grabbed him and took him to a corner and told him to rest. And I always tried to stay close to him because I knew he was winning it, and I knew I would get more TV time. I always found a way to be around the Click during hard camera time. And with Shawn in the Rumbles, I would grab him early on, at least while I was in the ring. Of course, then he went off and did his other things after I was gone. But yeah, that's pretty much all I remember about that Rumble. But 96, wasn't that the one with the free-for-all before it? And I came in 30th, maybe?
Yeah, that was probably it.
Yeah.
The fans will probably look it up anyways. And were you there for that Clickin Incident with Carl Ouellet where him and Nash got into it in the ring?
I was not in that. I was not on that show in Canada, but I remember them coming back and talking about it, and they were seething with anger and talking a bunch of shit about Carl, and they couldn't believe he had the audacity to do that, and he had no right, and he had to have respect for the champion and all this stuff. And, it was just a big mess.
Would you accept an induction into the WWE Hall of Fame?
Yeah, but it's a long shot, man. I don't think there's any way, unless they do a gimmick wing to the Hall of Fame. I would. I mean, who is it that said they won't? Honky Tonk or something said he wouldn't take it?
I don't know. I think he did before.
Yeah. I would. I don't think that'll ever happen. I was there for 2.5 years.
Now, you alluded to this in the full shoot, but a fan's asking you if you think you could have succeeded as a heel.
Yes, absolutely. I know I could have. I just never pulled the trigger on it. Now, that reminds me of a story I didn't talk about. They were going to turn me heel at one point and make Ted DiBiase my manager. They were going to do a gimmick where I was his protege. And they actually started it. They did a magazine article where I was dressed up in a suit doing a photo shoot, and they had me start finding money in the garbage can after wrestling matches on TV, and they were working in that direction. And then I think that's when Ted left and went to WCW, so that kind of killed that whole idea. But yeah, that was one story I didn't talk about in the shoot. They were going to turn me heel and put me with DiBiase.
Do you have any memories of the Kuwait tour and your match with the British Bulldog?
Davey's always fun to work. He's funny, that's for sure. But the thing that I remember about Kuwait is a rib. It wasn't me wrestling Davey, it was in the locker room. And what happened was me and Davey were sitting next to each other in the locker room. And he pointed out the fact that the Portuguese Man of War's mask was on the table, sitting there right in front of us. And I don't know where PJ was, just incredible. I don't know where he was. And what I did, and I'm telling on myself now, I moved a little fruit basket that they had in the back in Kuwait, and I just put it over the top of his mask. Harmless enough, right? The problem is I forgot about it. And PJ didn't fucking sell it either. So he just figured whoever did it was going to have it the next day to get back to him. Well, what ended up fucking happening is whoever the cleaning people were that came in and cleaned the locker room, they must have found it and took it home. And, who knows what happened, but it was gone. We got back the next day and it was gone. And fucking Davey goes and tells Shawn Michaels that I did it. So then Bret Hart comes up to me and tells me Shawn Michaels is talking shit about me. So I sit down next to Shawn and ask him if we're gonna have a fucking problem, because I felt cornered and embarrassed that it happened, and I felt like I had to try and save face, but it was a big fucked up situation. And I felt horrible that it happened to somebody's gimmick, you know. I didn't mean for that to happen, but all I did was I moved this basket over the top of it, and I totally forgot about it. And it was Davey that gave me the idea. He pointed it out.
What did he wear on his face for the mask?
I don't think he wrestled the next night, or I think we were almost done. I don't know, but he didn't wrestle because I don't think he wrestled. I felt horrible.
I don't know if this is an inside joke, but what are your thoughts on baked beans being part of an English breakfast?
That's not an inside joke. I don't know. Baked beans for breakfast is kind of nasty.
Were you friends with Ahmed Johnson?
No, I was not friends with Ahmed Johnson. Matter of fact, we almost got in a fight in Germany because he was cracked on the bus. He lost his shit. And I don't know. He didn't like us playing rock and roll and country music. And I don't know, he said something about that fucking redneck music. Bullshit. And so I took it personally. So I sent the promoter up to the front of the bus to put a videotape in of the movie Mississippi Burning. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it opens up with a burning cross. It was a pretty heelish fucking move. And he fucking lost it. When we got on the bus later on, he charged at me like he wanted to fight me. And his face was like in my chest, and he said, do something. And I just kind of stood there, and I told him he was a piece of shit. He can go fuck himself. But he wanted to kill me because I had pushed him over the edge, I guess. But you know, I did things like that. If you fucked with me, I'd give it back to you 1,000 times worse.
Who is your favorite person to travel with on the road, and any story about them on the road?
Savio was a blast. Steve Austin was a blast. You know, Steve Austin with the infamous foam cooler. We would go to like whatever, Circle K or whatever the freaking store was, and get a foam cooler, a bag of ice, and a 12-pack of natural light beer every night after the show. If we had to drive to the next town, that's what we did. Savio was always hilarious. I remember just laughing our asses off listening to Jerky Boys cassette tapes, the crank collar guys. That shit was funny as hell. But yeah, Savio was a great guy too. Those two were my favorites.
What is your opinion on the Chris Benoit conspiracy theories?
I don't know. I don't think there was anything like that. I think he did it and he killed himself. That's all I think. I don't believe there was any conspiracy.
At what point did you stop watching wrestling?
I stopped watching wrestling. Wow, somebody knows me on there because I said this somewhere. I stopped watching wrestling on the day that Triple H crawled into a casket and acted like he was fucking a corpse. That was the day I stopped watching wrestling.
Do you have any stories about Sunny, and did you get added to her list?
No. I steered clear of Sunny. Chris Candido was a great dude. I do remember the incident where somebody shit in her food in Germany, though. I think it was Germany. You know, we had the catered food. Yeah, somebody did. They shit in a tray, and they took hers and put it over top of it. So you know that she had to have dug into it. But, yeah. I mean, that's the only thing. All that Shawn Michaels stuff, well, it was rumored, but it wasn't so...
Someone says, I guess it was XPac that's admitted to it since.
Yeah. Did he do Sunnies or did he do Sables? He probably did both. Like he shit in everybody's food.
I didn't even know Sable had that done to her,
I
too.
thought Sable did. And they lost their shit about it. Lost their shit. That's a pun. Her and Mero got lost. I don't know. Maybe I heard that wrong somewhere, but I do remember the Sunny thing. I was there. Yeah, it was XPac. It was.
Someone asks what your favorite movie, color, and food is.
Golly, man, there's a lot of movies, but Pulp Fiction's up there. Pulp Fiction, favorite color is blue, and favorite food is pizza.
And someone's asking your impressions of Vince Russo.
Vince Russo, interestingly enough, was the one that was pushing really hard for me to turn heel and go with DiBiase. He wrote this whole fucking backstory in the magazine that was incredible. And he was the one that was really kind of spearheading that thing. He was just the editor of the magazine then. But you could tell he had good ideas. Now, I don't think he was responsible for the resurgence of the World Wrestling Federation, like during the Attitude Era. He was part of it, but I don't think he was as important as people maybe thought in the beginning, and I think he was kind of exposed in WCW. I think there's a lot of truth to the fact that his ideas had to bounce off of Vince before they were approved. And in WCW, we saw what, the result of what his ideas were. But I never had a problem with Vince Russo. He was a quiet guy behind the scenes, the editor of the magazine. But yeah, he really was, you could tell he was really pushing character development, not just for me, but for other people. And I think that's eventually why he got put in that position, because he had such a creative mind with developing characters. Sometimes it went crazy and overboard maybe later on, but he really tried to push for my heel turn. He really did.
Did you ever witness Wrestler's Court?
No, they never did that when I was there.
Were you there the night that Shawn Michaels got beat up by the Harris twins, but he wasn't beat up? I think he was just threatened.
No, I wasn't there for that either. I heard about it, but no.
And apparently, yes, there was an XPac incident with Sable and shitting in the bag. And do you have a favorite Rocky movie?
4 with Drago.
And final question before I shut this down. What is your opinion on Missy Hyatt? Someone's asking.
I don't know Missy. I've heard a lot of things, but in the wrestling business, you can hear a lot of things, and a lot of them aren't true. I speak from experience. But no, I've never met Missy Hyatt. I don't know her.